Hello and welcome to the new series of Drishti IAS. I am Pooja, and in this segment today we are going to discuss all about the tussle between the West Bengal state government and the Honorable Governor Dhankar with respect to the chancellorship of state universities. This topic is of extreme significance from the perspective of GS Mains Paper 2, and from the perspective of prelims, you have to answer the last question that I have attached to this segment. Those kind of questions can be asked for your prelims examination, the facts. And also, if you are a PSIR optional student, this is of utmost importance that you have a look at this particular segment. So why are we discussing it? Because there is a tussle with respect to making CM, the Chief Minister of West Bengal, as the Chancellor of West Bengal State Universities and removing the governor from there. Now, of course, there are political connotations to this particular move, but we are not going to go into the political intricacies of it. We will just talk about the facts and the analytical part of it. So recently, the West Bengal State Assembly has passed the West Bengal University Law Amendment Bill. If it will get the assent of the governor, that is the Dhankar, Honorable Governor Dhankar, then what will happen? The CM will replace him as the Chancellor of the state universities. Chancellors are basically titular heads, and the bill will become law only after it receives Dhankar's, that is the governor's assent. Now, he can give his assent, he may give his assent to the bill, it will become an act and hence it will be operative with the CM as the Chancellor for the state universities. He also can withhold the assent and he can return the bill to the State Assembly for reconsideration. Now, if after that, after he returns the bill to the State Assembly for reconsideration, if the State Assembly makes an amendment, amends basically the bill, or it does not do so and it is again sent to the governor, now he has to or she has to, any governor I am talking about here, he or she has to give their assent to the bill. Now there is a fourth option as well. Now Dhankar over here can give or pass on this particular bill to the president also, and president again can withhold, may give or even return the bill for reconsideration. Now if the State Assembly again amends the bill and sends it again to the president, there is no time stipulation under which it is mandated that the president has to, give his or her assent within a certified period of time. So this is the scenario, possible scenario. Although the State Assembly or the West Bengal state government is saying that even if the governor does not assent to the bill, they will bring an ordinance. Now the catch with the ordinance is that it can only be brought when the state legislature is not operative, is in recess, or it's not working or operative, and it ceases to be in operation after 6 weeks. 6 weeks is the time when the assembly will again have its sitting. From the date of sitting to the period of 6 weeks, after that the ordinance will cease to operate. Then what? So this is an entire situation. The situation with respect to West Bengal's governor and the chief minister is they are sharing a rocky relationship. The CM of West Bengal generally, I'm not just talking about West Bengal, whichever states they have an opposition government to the current government, the current central government, there are problems with respect to governor being the chancellor of the state universities there. So you can see this tweet by the governor of West Bengal, Jagdeep Dhankar ji, when he tweeted, vice chancellors of 24, now 25 universities appointed illegally without his approval, that is chancellor's approval. One of the powers of the chancellor of the state university, the governor, is that he can or she can appoint the or has to appoint the vice chancellors. Now this shows the tense situation that there is between the CM of West Bengal or the state governor and the state government of West Bengal. Okay, now let's talk about the role of the governor as a chancellor. The appointment of vice chancellors in state government run universities is one of his powers and functions, and power to annul any sort of decision that have been made even by the executive council is in his or her hands. Again, make appointments to the bodies such as executive council. Other than that, preside over convocations of the universities. Now in Telangana and Gujarat, governors have no option but to appoint vice chancellors from amongst the names approved by the state government, because state governments have their separate acts. So with respect to these particular states, the governor can only appoint those person as vice chancellor which have been recommended by the state government. So state government has a control over the nomination of vice chancellors here. Now, what is basically I have written CM as a chancellor, but basically what I am going to discuss over here is why there is a need, according to the state governments, why there is a need to remove governor as the chancellor of universities. Other than that, why the state government should have a say in the appointment of the vice chancellors. The lack of accountability of the chancellor for the functioning of the university first is that there is a lack of accountability. Again, the individuals appointed vice chancellor by the chancellor, they have often failed the test of integrity, commitment and improving the university. This is very subjective. Also, the vice chancellor carry forward the directions of the chancellor. State governments tend to lose control with respect to their state universities. The financing and executive support of the university is done by the state. So, this becomes a direct clash when I am funding one university or any institute and I do not have any control over that. What or for what, how and when are my funds being used? That is also something to be kept in mind. Now, in all cases, the chancellors may not be having a rich scholarly background and sensitivity to the core values of the education. Now, this may lead to inefficient decision making. Administrative actions basically are taken by the state in respect to education institutions, and the state is responsible for whatever the liabilities of discharging the responsibilities of the university is going to be there. Now, there is responsibility without power. Again, the states are empowered to take decision on education for its betterment. Education is in the concurrent list on which either the state or the center can make rules and laws. Moving on. Now, there are demands. There have not been any sort of official demands to make the CM as the chancellor of state universities in different institutes, in different states, not institutes, in different states, but there has been problems with respect to the question of appointing vice chancellor. So, Tamil Nadu in April passed 2 bills that sought to transfer the power to appoint the vice chancellor of 13 state universities. Now, this is the one thing that Tamil Nadu wanted the power in their own hand. The government, the state government wanted the power in their own hand to appoint the vice chancellors, and every appointment of the vice chancellor shall be made by the government from out of a panel of 3 names which have been given by search cum selection committee. Now, here Tamil Nadu is working on the same lines as Gujarat and Telangana. Again, the Maharashtra Assembly last year in December, it amended the Maharashtra, it passed a bill, not amended, it passed a bill to amend the Maharashtra Public Universities Act by slicing the governor's role in appointing the vice chancellors. So basically, the unamended part, according to that, the state governor, the state government, not the governor, the state government does not have a lot say, any say with respect to appointing the vice chancellors of the university, state universities in Maharashtra. If this bill will be passed and becomes an act, then they will have the power. The governor will be given 2 names to choose by the state. Same like Telangana and Gujarat and Tamil Nadu, same thing. Moving on, if we talk about the judiciary precedent, it's not related to the current topic, but the Supreme Court had in March set aside the appointment of Vice Chancellor of Gujarat's SP University by the state government, saying that any appointment as a Vice Chancellor contrary to the provisions of the UGC regulations can be said to be in violation of the statutory provision warranting a writ of quo warranto. Quo warranto means by what authority you are doing so. Moving on. Now, if we talk about UGC mandate, as I already told you, that concurrent list has the topic of education. But entry 66 of the union list, it says that coordination and determination of standards in institutions for higher education or research and scientific technical institution. Now, this gives immense power to the union government to have a say in the appointments of the vice chancellors and chancellors. And UGC basically has a standard setting role. It gives a threshold to which the universities have to reach in order to be, cited as credible universities. According to UGC, minimum qualification for appointment of teachers and other academic staff in universities and colleges and other measures for the maintenance of standards in higher education regulation says the visitor or the chancellor, which is mostly the governor in the state, shall appoint the VC out of the panel of names recommended by the search cum selection committee. Here is a central law. Now, the example of one university is there. In the university has Prime Minister as the Chancellor. See, Visva Bharati University, Prime Minister plays the role of the Chancellor. This was cited by the West Bengal Chief Minister, Honorable Mamata Banerjee. And it is basically a central university. This is very different from the state university. Now, the Central Universities Act of 2009 says that the president shall become the visitor or the chancellor of the central university. And chancellors in central universities basically are titular heads. They are just given the title. President as visitor shall have the right to authorize inspections of academic and non-academic aspects of university and also to institute inquiries. Okay. Now, this is a prelims-based question. Whoever is going to answer this question, I'm going to take their names in the next segment. Consider the following statements with respect to the powers and functions of governor in Indian polity. He, she appoints as well as removes the chairman and members of the State Public Service Commission. When he or she acts as the chancellor of university, he, she is exercising executive powers. We have to select the correct statement. Okay, so that's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated. Thank you so much for watching.